Cool. So this is going to be my weekly outlook. This is going to be the first one that I'm doing for 2023. Um, it's the 7th of January at the minute. So I'll just start off with going over where all the sort of levels that I'm looking at have come from, because with it being a new year, I've sort of gone over and music. I've gone over and remarked up my whole DJ chart, sort of keep focus on all the sort of most important levels, and then sort of obviously get rid of all the ones that are irrelevant. So starting from it's easier to start from the monthly. So starting from the monthly, we've got the previous monthly resistance here. This was a really big issue. I remember in a couple of London sessions when we were trading within, it was either this week or this week here. I remember everyone was trying to trade it at the same time, and then I think it was Umar that pointed out that we were within this zone here, and it's causing a lot of little issues. So that's the main zone that I'm watching from the monthly. Then as well, this whole sort of area here. Down to the weekly, and we can see that we've got obviously our weekly range marked out from that candle there, and then from here we've got this monthly support that lines through with that wick there. So obviously the top end of the wick lines up with the monthly support, comes through here, and then the bottom end of this wick is obviously the top end of this, the 14th of March, as weekly candle. We go into the daily. The Q2 base for 2022 is still really important to keep an eye on, in my opinion. See, that's right where we're trading up to here. So we came down, tapped it. Obviously, we're sort of tapping into it now again. So trading within here on the lower time frames, especially, could be causing a lot of issues. Sort of if you're trying to play it like that. So we've got weekly support, quarterly support at the bottom end here. I think it's going to be important to watch. So you can see we've tapped into that. Obviously later in 2022, formed initially in July 2021. Going back to the daily, the main zones that I'm watching here aren't sort of bang on support resistance levels. Like obviously you can see I've not got stuff like this marked here. It's just the main zones where we've seen lots of reaction previously. And then from a session to session perspective, I'll keep an eye on stuff like this, and then the very top end of this and all that sort of stuff. So just the sort of immediate zones I'll be looking at would be this line through here. So you can see that all the way through here, we've seen issues literally across the board. So I think I could be pretty confident in saying that if we came up here, there is a pretty high chance we'd have some issues. Same with this sort of level here. You can probably see something down here on the lower time frames, but you can see going through here, we've seen issues all the way going through, tapped into it here. And then obviously key daily support and resistance, that's something that Chris was talking about quite a lot last year. Comes from the bottom end of that wick there. You can see we've had reactions all the way across again. Obviously top end of our weekly zone that we just talked about, going up here, see daily support and resistance that's tapped through there. Another one of those where we've had reaction obviously bouncing across here, coming from the resistance on the 12th of October. Weekly resistance right at the top, and then weekly resistance right at the very top there as well. So sort of looking at my outlook going into the upcoming week, I'll start it on the 3-month chart. So on the 3-month chart, obviously we're still really early in the candle, so there's not a lot that we can't really start calling this a rejection yet, because we've obviously got like 2.5 months that we could start coming back down here. But we can see that we tapped into our previous monthly resistance zone that I was talking about before. That comes from here, but obviously we can't be sort of banking on that yet. Going down to the monthly chart, we can see that the previous month closed strong bearish below our Q2 base, but it's worth keeping in mind a couple of things about this. One, this whole candle was a sort of low volume part of the year, and two, the big majority of this move, as we can see if we go down to the daily, was caused by when we saw the yield changes to the Bank of Japan did on the 10-year government bonds, when they changed the yield band from 0.25% to 0.5%, put a bit of shock in the market or whatever. So a lot of this move down was a fundamental move. I'm not saying that should sort of discredit this candle, but it should be kept in mind. And then obviously you're on the monthly. So yeah, that should be kept in mind there. Going down to the weeklies, I was looking at this earlier and I sort of thought, viewing this as you would go into a session, say, so looking at the 4-hour chart, obviously we use the 2 4-hour candles for to identify our bias. So I looked at these two candles here, sort of visualizing it as if it was sort of going into a session. And based on these two candles alone, I can't call either upside or downside based on these. There's too much indecision. We're at a really sort of important area on the chart, that Q2 base from last year. So going off that, I can't really call upside or downside going into the session, but off the daily, we can sort of make some educated sort of decisions about one. Well, to be fair, it doesn't really matter what happens, but we can sort of play out some different scenarios. So I think the first scenario that, well, this isn't in any particular order really. If we get below the previous daily low, we could be looking to retest these. Could be looking to retest these lows here. And then once we get below there, we can be looking at something like either to break and then hold support, form support, hold resistance below this level here. I think that will be important because of how much of a impactful level this is in the higher time frame to be holding structure below if we are going to stay below it. And that would need to be on at least like a 4-hour minimum. See structure below here to sort of start making our way down or whatever we're going to do. The next scenario that I'd be sort of looking at would be breaking above here, support back above our Q2 base, and then we can obviously, I don't know why my line's disappearing. So yeah, obviously support back above, and then we can get up to test these highs here, and then potentially either reject from there. We could range in between those two, or it would be nice to see price coming up here, forming resistance, support back above. That is the most retarded line. Back above this zone here. And then obviously you can see that's one of our key levels that we've been sort of looking at all the way across here. If we get support back above there, we have pretty much clean traffic here to go. We've seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. It could give us some nice options on the lower time frame, sort of pushing up to our next high time frame level. Going down to the 4-hour chart, I think it makes it a little bit clearer here. So you can see that we obviously got prices come down, tapped our Q2 base, pull back to our key level looking left. We broke down and now we form resistance at the Q2 base support. But because we haven't formed it below or above, we're sort of, in my opinion, could either break to the upside or to the downside because we're literally just sat in a range here on the 4-hour. But the important levels to watch would obviously be this support here. Then if we manage to break above here, we'd be watching then this level. So I think that's pretty much it. In terms of identifying areas for specifics, I think if you were to trade within any of these high time frame zones, it would be very sensible to sort of wait for a target first. To be honest, I probably won't be trading within any of these just because of the potential for inconsistency and sort of rejection, stuff like that. But if you were going to trade within them, I'd definitely be waiting for targets first. And then obviously with each session to session, I'll be sort of planning out every session individually based on what we can see on the 4-hour chart, the previous 2 4-hour candles. So yeah, I think that's pretty much the outlook done. There's not really anyone in the Zoom, so I'll just save the recording and then post that up. Cheers, guys. Sweet.